that was actually one of the fastest ready ups I've ever seen in Ero history, because I've set Neom on the PC F1 chat and literally everyone has clicked in. We are supposed to see 18 drivers today in PC F1 tier, which will include one of the comebacks. Also, Irvin is not like reading at the moment, so I don't know what's going on for not anymore the championship leader, but today we are starting Ero Pc F1 Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. Probably the race that will bring on loads of entertainment because of its challenging nature. My name is Wojciech Śmigowski. I am the owner and the commentator of Ero Pc F1 division, the pinnacle of PC rig racing or whatever you call it. And I'll be also commentating today. Not every sponsor banner has been made for your information, as we are now heading to Jeddah from the studio. And we will see the grid for today's race and how many drivers did not put their correct numbers in. So, just turning on the sim hub, we can see that everything should be alright. And it is alright. No, it isn't, because one of the Alpines, and that is Sami Nakle, is already getting 2 penalty points because of not pressing the correct number in. So that's a very quick steward decision. And because of that, we're already having first troubles of the session, but I hope there will be no late safety cars in opposite to whatever we had back in other tiers. Rest looks alright, no more major issues. As speaking of about the track, we can, for example, mention that it has the most corners on the entire Formula 1 calendar. It has 27 turns. It's anti-clockwise, because we're actually going left throughout the entire lap. And speaking of actually today's race, well, let me see one more check. Okay, everything's right. We are just starting qualifying, as Nakle has already improved, is already correcting his number, but I guess I will do it myself. There'll be some technical issues at the very start of the stream. I'm actually not used to commentating as of now, but I know I'm going to give it a show, give it a good show. Anyways, it's fixed, as we've got Cameron Dowds starting his lap. We can see he's already through the sector 1. As, well, maybe let's talk about championship situation first, because I'm actually quite out of the flow. But at the moment, you could see at Imola how Evan Curtin has crashed out during the safety car for whatever reason, which brought the championship lead to Tony Richer, his teammate, and also a championship rival. But the winner of that race was Diogo Moraes, last time out in Emilia-Romagna. Looking at the PCF1 standings, the gap is just 13 points, and the rest of the field is losing quite a lot, as Cameron Dowds is about to complete his lap. I don't see anyone else on the lap, at least ahead of him. As Cameron crosses the line, will set the benchmark of 27.4. We've got a couple of comebacks today, because in the last weeks we've got Dowds, we've got Moraes, for example. We've also got the new drivers like Sami Nakle in Alpine at the moment. And we've got this particular comeback of Drake Dempsey, who's just setting up a pole lap time. Not only that, we've got a couple of PCF2 drivers, and these are Milan Derksen and Adam Leipich. And on the end, we've got also PCF3 driver in the Mercedes, and that is Filip Kiela. So that is today's grid. The rest is full-time drivers. We are also expecting Joe Fegali to join the session at any point, but we'll see if this will come true. Red Bulls are pretty much dominating the entire Constructors' Championship this season. Continuing the laps, it's a 5-place grid penalty for Robertson. So there was collision with Wojciech Kroks around there. Looking at the Mercedes, the Adam Leipzig is now hot lapping. Big lockup into turn 27, but it should be a decent lap considering he's been called by Toto Wolff on last minute. 30.8. At least he's made a valid one. Also, I don't know what's happened here, but we can see Sami Nakle is coming back on track on the outlap after seemingly correcting his number. But if we could see something else rather than some walls, then it would be very fine. As most of the drivers are going to the pits. Currently on provisional pole, Drake Dempsey, but only 16 milliseconds ahead of Diogo Moraes and a 10th ahead of Cameron Dowds and Evan Curtin. That is very close for the American. Kind of newly, because it was like 2 weeks ago, announced esports driver, if we can call that. He's an Alfa Romeo development driver now. And actually the first driver in Ero history to ever be in any kind of esports team. We know that Guillaume Darunia was in Challengers at least twice and won a race in China in 2021 and got second at Imola in 2022. But he wasn't a part of official F1 team yet. He hasn't been. Meanwhile, most of the drivers are going to the pits. We can see a couple of glitches that Masters love to treat us with, and Red Bulls being stuck. Because Tony Richa cannot go to the pits right now. But I guess, yep, the pit crew is going very quickly out of the pits to bring him in. Looking at the current standings, we can see a bit of a downfall of form from Arjan Bilbas, because we could see, for example, Curtin is either winning or scoring low points or DNFing. There is nothing in between. Win or nothing, pretty much. But Arjan, even though he's got already 2 podiums, third in Austria and second in Bahrain, recent races weren't exactly that great for him, for the Ferrari driver, who's already going out of the pits. We could see, you know, Luke Mills is letting other drivers pass. Top 3 is already on qualifying laps. Imagine if we had that great start since the start of the season of Moraes, Dowds and Dempsey, who I believe most of you believe as well, is on a good course to win today. While looking at your predictions in the chat, yeah, definitely Drake is going to win, in your opinion. As Sami Nakle is another one on the purple sector. We'll see if this is actually a purple sector, because Sami, well, believe me or not, but the likes of Moore and Fegali have told me that he's on a course to at least fight Drake Dempsey properly. Well, remembering Dempsey's career in Ero so far, we can remember 6 race wins in last season's PC F1, which brought him at the final 3rd place in the championship after retiring mid-season, unfortunately. And of course, the Season 6 championship fight against Guillaume Darunia, but that was on PlayStation. And actually, I don't like talking about this particular topic, because that championship fight deserved a better ending than Drake pursuing the esports dream. But it is what it is. We've got ERO driver in esports. That's the power of ERO. Just calculating that if Drake wins the race today, even with pole position, because, well, Nakle is currently having it, could be going for position number 8 at most. Nakle is now going into the pit, so we'll follow Drake Dempsey, who's currently in turns 16 and 17. As he's now going to the DRS straight. Last season, in F1 2021, the DRS zone was wherever the Red Bull is, and that is after the section in Sector 1. Dowds goes fastest with 27.2. Are we going to see a sub 27 today? Well, there's a couple of drivers who may go for it. I can see exactly 6 of them at the very moment. One of the alphas is trying to bring some slipstream to Drake. However, I don't think it was the best try ever, but good job, Piani, who's going to the pits as Drake Dempsey is about to complete the lap, and it's going to be 27.1, placing him on provisional pole, 37 milliseconds ahead of Doubts. Even though most of the drivers on the chat before the race said they are going to be lapped by Drake, and they're expecting him to win by a big margin. Curtin is about to complete a lap as well. I believe he is indeed on the hot lap. He's now crossing the line. This should be 27 something. It is 27.2, placing him ahead of Nakle. Sami Nakle, the new driver, the Lebanese. Well, I already told you about Marvin Moore doing a pretty good advertisement for him before the race, and he's definitely proving it, because the gaps between the top 5 is just 0.2 of a second, and consider that Nakle will also have one more lap, Moraes will also have one more lap. How about Tony Richard, who's invalidated, even though he's 0.2 faster, so he might be close. The only driver to step on the podium in every single race, and probably this is why he's a championship leader, is now in only 6th place in qualifying, but we know his race pace, it's definitely better than his qualifying pace, considering he's only got 1 pole position, and we can compare it to like 4 pole positions from Irvin. As far as I'm aware, there was also 1 pole position from Tom Maurer. That was in Australia. Unfortunate ending though. His incident with Irvin was called a racing incident, unfortunately, for the Mercedes driver who is not racing today. And already said that he's glad he doesn't have to do any laps in Jeddah. Also in the chat we've got a poll, the YouTube stream chat, where you can vote who is going to win today. Unfortunately, I replaced Tom Maurer because he isn't racing. There should have been Quil Pavlakovic, who's currently in, but we're also, even though we're always doing, or actually usually now, at the top 3 of the championship in the poll, I've placed Drake today instead of Quill. So maybe this will be a short conclusion, just reading your chat. Tom is already in the chat. Actually, kind of not being the most satisfied that this is a grid for only 1 race. Adding you, Tom, that would be a 7-way championship fight. Maybe there will be a couple of drivers as well who would snatch that 1-2 podiums per season. We've got a couple of flags. Moore, Pavlakovic, Bilbas or Ducros. Because there's plenty of drivers with podium potential. Diogo Moraes instantly actually invalidates a lap in turns 1 and 2. Sami Nakle is already on a lap, improving by 30 milliseconds, so we'll move to the Alpine driver. Maybe he's going to become a full-time driver soon. With this pace, this might be a possibility, as Sami is now going through turns 16 and 17. Very quick section. You go through it on the 6th gear. Personally, I cannot do it above the 5th gear. As we're approaching the 2nd DRS, this will be the most important, one of the most important points of the lap. We'll see what is the gap. It's 26 milliseconds down. He should be ahead of the Red Bull. Oh, he slides heavily. And I think this is the end of the lap for him, but he's still trying to make this completed, as the gap between him and Curtin is around 30 milliseconds. So this will be crucial for the 2nd or maybe even 1st row for the Alpine driver, having his 1st race today. We'll see if he can complete it and do anything better than this. No, he goes to the pits. He still has time for 1 more lap. He knows that slide in turns 22 and 23 was a major one and not worth completing this entire run. Diogo Moraes will also probably go to the pits. As you can see, he's got no ERS, and he indeed is going to the pits. Marvin Moore is on the outlap. How about Arian Bilbas? He's on the outlap as well. We're looking for the drivers that are currently hot lapping. As well as you can see, I will be trying to invite Joe Fegali in the very meantime, because he has declared to participate, but we cannot see him currently. Yep, he is here. And I just missed it badly. We are doing this because, well, we are between the hot laps. And yep, game invite sent. This is what I needed. You could see how Ero is working behind the scenes. That was intentional and all, because, well, it's just Steam. Yep, I agree with you, Tom, actually, because this could have been something else. And also consider that crossplay, we're turning it on in Season 9 in all tiers, and we're going to have only 8 tiers. So imagine the grids of Ero with crossplay enabled. Also, Marvin Moore, if you could do something with your internet connection, please, because that was a big moment. And I don't know what he's been doing with Sami Nakle. Well, Sami is on the outlap. Probably they are communicating with each other. But that wasn't the best way of a teamwork. Looking at Arian Bilbas. He's just starting his lap. Most of the drivers are on the outlaps. On pole is Drake Dempsey. But it isn't like it was in Season 7, where he was actually a second ahead of everyone else. The drivers who could actually fight with him were Znamirovski and Rachkola. These were the ones who could show something against him. Best example, Brazil. The second race of the season. The 3-lap defense from the pole and the Mercedes. And that was actually a great one. As well, there were some opinions in the paddock about why Drake is already instantly like 8 places up in last season. Now he's starting on pole, and that is actually close. You can see how the level of the tier, no offense to all the drivers. Oh, there's a spin from Arian Bilbas. Just coming back on track, but speaking about last season, everyone is already, no, it was Tony on the outlap. Just switching through the drivers to see who's on the lap. Adam Leipich isn't, but Filip Kielar might be. Just starting. Crocs is about to cross the line. He's by around a tenth of a second. And he has got his lap worse by 55 milliseconds. Coming back to the topic of Drake before the final runs. We could, for example, there were a couple of opinions in the paddock. Why is Drake already 8 places up after 3 corners? But some of the drivers said that it was basically mainly due to the fact they got their own race. And where they're exactly going to fight him is that much. But maybe we'll focus on the last minute of the qualifying, because we can see most of the drivers. Actually, every single driver is now on track. Apart from one of the Red Bulls, who is Evan Curtin, and is going to the pits. Tony Rich is starting his lap. The championship fight between the Red Bulls, well, it's starting to boil a little bit, but it just can be a little bit more complicated now, because at the beginning of the season we just got these two, and Tom Mauer from time to time going and trying to mix something up in the top 2. Tony Rich invited his lap. He will not be higher than 6. He will not be higher than 6, so that's a difficult situation for the Red Bull driver. Now he has to rely on a great start to the race, and the race pace, of course. Considering especially the fact races in F1 game starting... Oh, there's also a crash from Tony! Considering that races from F1 2020 onwards are just big DRS trains if drivers have similar pace. Drake is now going through lap turns 16 and 17 into the longest DRS zone. Cameron Dowds goes to the pit, so he will not take the pole position. How about Sami Nakle? He isn't improving as well. How about Diogo Moraes, meanwhile? Diogo is a bit ahead of Drake, who's spun round and will not complete the lap. You could see him crashing out heavily in turns 22 and 23. Dempsey will probably get pole, because Diogo Moraes is going to the pits anyway. Sami Nakle will be 4th at best. How about Marvin Moore, who's also having low fuel? Luke Mills has lap invalidated. Well, that was a big crash from Drake. I hope the Alfa Romeo crew will recover his car for the race, because that was a heavy crash from Drake. However, you can see how close the grid is. I mean, we can consider that Tony could have gone for a way better lap in this qualifying, but the top 6 is going to be very close, so we'll focus on these 6 drivers. There's no formation lap in any of the tiers because there's some glitches around it, like cold tires. Marvin Moore goes to the pits, and that is the end of the qualifying. Drake Dempsey will stand on pole for today's Saudi Arabia Grand Prix, just ahead of Cameron Dowds, Irvin Curtin, and Sami Naklev. Fraser Robertson, consider he's got a 5-place grid penalty. Also, thank you for the nice graphics. I'll be completely honest, I've just downloaded them from Race Department. I haven't created them at all. There is a plan that maybe I'll try editing in the future. But for now, we have to settle for those. Very good job from the Alpha. Also, the grid for today: Dempsey, Dowds, Curtin, Nakle, Moraes, Riche, Moore, Mills, Pavlakovic, Bilbas, Dukro, Heinen. Robertson is 5 places down, so Crocs, Keller, Milan Dirks, and Adam Lipic are going ahead of him, and Fraser Robertson is going to start last in today's Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Most of you have declared quite clearly Drake Dempsey is on course to win, not like I hyped him already, and not like he's an esports driver, so he has a big chance. But never say never. And maybe, for example, Adam Leipich winning. Who knows? The PCF2 driver who got called in last minute. As we are about to begin the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, drivers are already picking the strategies. If we can see if there's any changes. Also, I love this glitch. Most of the drivers are currently on the medium tires. Are they changing these tires? Yep, we can see the changes. Irvin Curtin is going on hard compound. Gianni Ducro will be on hards as well. Doubts too. Drake stays on the mediums probably. There's another driver on hard tires. There's also Bilbas and Ducro starting on softs. So that is a very interesting strategy choice. This is a bit of a mix-up. Leipich is on hards. Both Paul Crocs and Killer on the hard tires as well. Drake has decided to go on hard tires. So how about Sami Nakle and Diogo Moraes? Are they staying on the compound of the mediums, on the yellow one, or will they go for hards as well? There's also Heinen, who's going on soft in these last seconds. Oh, we could see the race director, and I guess we're coming back on the track for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. That was actually a very exciting part, so we'll see how it will turn out during the race, as we've got 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. Is Drake Dempsey going to lead the race? After turn 1, it's lights out, and away we go. And we can see how Drake is already pulling away from the rest of the field. There is Cameron Dowds right behind him in the second. There's Marvin Moore looking for a space to attack. Drake is comfortably leading. Cameron Dowds has to watch out for the likes of Nakle and both Red Bull drivers. There's a spin over Williams and an Alpha Tauri. There's a carnage in the background. Quill Pavlakovic is already out of the race. Yes, it is a full safety car. Already Jeddah just being Jeddah. We've got the first retirement of the session. And that is from Quill, who is currently 4th in the championship. This is a big chance for the likes of Bilbas to catch up in the championship. There's also some misunderstanding between him and Marvin Moore. Maybe let's see the front wing checks, because these are the very important. The Alpha Tauri and the Williams. I don't know which Alpha Tauri that was, because it might have been Mills, because Hohen is in the 7th. Great start from Detachment, who's gone from P12. And unfortunately had to retire. Milan Dirksen is on the 11th. It isn't the Lucas Dirksen, it's his brother Milan, who's PCF2 driver usually. He's already doing a great effort, being 11th. Just close to points. Also, we can use this bit of time until we will catch up to Bert Melander after the carnage in the midfield. We can use this time to explain that these graphics, this F1 TV HUD, I don't know the full name of it, if anyone can tell me in the chat. Sorry Joe, unfortunately, I tried inviting you with around 3 or 4 minutes to go. Looking at the graphics and answering your questions, Owen is already in the pits, so even though he used the start, he might be going for a wing change, so we'll see that one. Also, maybe a little bit of a correction. There you go. And maybe we'll make it a little bit smaller. Yeah, should be alright. Graphics of these are currently only used in PC F1 tier because I'm just testing them before the crossplay. I had an intention to use them in PSF1 once. We'll come back to commentary, but well, the drivers don't like the crossplay, so we're going to force them to use it next season. Why? Because all of the grid deserves that. And why? Because I want to see a 20-way championship fight. I mean, consider there's a bigger chance of Drake racing as a full-time driver, for example, or Cameron, or Diogo, or both Red Bull drivers. Currently, this will be used only in PCF1 unless your tier coordinator, which for PCF2 is Lukmers, for PCF3 is Kul Pawlakowicz, or PCF4 Maciej Kopaczewski. It all depends on them. If they use them, it's fine. It's just a download of Gary Swallow plugin and the dashboard. Coming back to the race, Drake Dempsey leads the way after the carnage of lap 1. Just doing minor corrections. As we've got Cameron and Drake on the first 2 places. Yanni Ducro, even though he had a chance to pit, because he's on the soft tires, which are wearing out very quickly, he could use the other compound later in the race. For now, he may have a good 1 or 2 laps after the restart, but I'm not quite confident. Not quite confident about his tire. Now, Lucas right in the chat, by the way. Unfortunately, there is nothing like that on PlayStation, as Yanni is actually going to be very close to Tony. We could see in the background. Let me know if this sound quality is any better. We're still trying to fix the things. Drake Dempsey leading the way, trying to use the neutral gear to burn more and more fuel. I expect at least 1 more safety car, even though I wish there will be no late safety cars. For example, like in PSF3, where it was all going clean until the lap 23, apart from a crash between Macaulay Beard and Emre Demir. It was all cool until lap 23, and then until lap 21, and then for the last 2 laps, because there's a game mechanic that forces the race to restart for the last 2 laps, even if there's a safety car on track, and there's debris everywhere. Well, it just turned out to Destruction Derby, and I see like 3 or 4 DNFs around it. As Drake Dempsey will probably restart the race after this lap, because we've got everyone in the pack. So Bert Mailander, thank you for leading the race, but I guess it's time to let Drake do this job, or Cameron to overtake Drake, or Sami Nakle to use these medium tires. We'll see what kind of strategy will pay out the most. I don't suppose top 6 to have any kind of dive bombs, sending dive bombs everywhere. But midfield is the other story. Meanwhile, Milan Derksen is in the 10th place. And after reserve is doing very well. Meanwhile, we'll see if Bergman had the plans to go in. And it doesn't look like so. It is safety car in this lap, by the way, so just change of plans. Last minute. Drake Dempsey is about to warm up his tires, and we'll see if he can keep the lead after turn 1. He's got the fastest up of the race. But that doesn't actually matter, considering we've got like 22 more laps, and some random software runner is going to, some random driver in the midfield is going to crash out, go for the soft tires on the last laps, and take the fastest lap of the race. Meanwhile, Drake is about to restart the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. See how close the grid is between each other. Drake Dempsey is already going, and he's weaving about a bit to warm up his tires. He's keeping the lead of the race. Cameron Dodds has to watch out for Sami Nakle for position number 2. But it looks like it's just a colorful train of drivers. Drake Dempsey has to cover up the inside line, not to let Cameron make any moves. These 2 young talented drivers are going all for it. Drake is leading the way after turns 1 and 2, but Cameron will not give this one up. You can see he's very close. to the Alfa Romeo driver. Also, the Alpine of Sami Nakle is even closer to Cameron. After a couple of corners, we'll see that this is the sector 1 where Drake is gaining a lot on Cameron. Cameron is using a bit of that ERS. He has to watch out. He has to control the fact that he has to be within the 1 second of Drake to fight for the win this race. As there is Sami Nakle trying to make a move down the inside of Cameron, but it isn't quite a thing. He has these medium tires, but he's not using them to the fullest at the moment. Probably just waiting for a better opportunity, the Alpine driver. There is yellow flags in sector 2, and yes, I believed it was Ducro, and it is Yanni Ducro, dropping all the way down to last place. The Drake's teammate is now leaving a big gap between the P12 and P13. As we can see, Cameron Dowds is going for a lead of the race on Drake Dempsey into turn 27 into the ultimate corner. Drake Dempsey is squeezing Cameron a bit into the wall, but he's losing the lead of the race. Drake is now going to fight back with him. We'll see. Cameron is moving about a bit. Drake is going into turn 1, side by side with the Aston. He's going to make a move down the inside. Cameron makes the fast lap of the race. Drake takes the lead back. So that was a very short period of leading for Cameron. But that was a great fighting between these two drivers. Sami Nakle is watching it all, waiting for something to happen and take the lead of the race as well. Great bit of fighting. But now, oh, Drake nearly loses the car in this section of turns 6 and 7. Sami Nakle still watching. Maybe he's using the chance Lapic gets a 3-second time penalty. We can see 2 trains forming. It's for the top 7. And from Bilbas to Heinen, Milan Dirksen is surprisingly doing a great job staying at the 9th place. Nakle looks for a space to attack Cameron Dowds on the inside into the banking. However, he's still staying behind the Alpine driver. This will be very valuable points for Alpine, who both of the drivers, Hairusi and Burlini, have been proving a great qualifying pace, settling for around P5s, P7, P3s. Ducro retires from the session, and that should be another safety car, because he's retiring on track. It doesn't look like so at the moment. Sami Nakle probably hits the wall, but it isn't a safety car, definitely. Ducro is just out of the race. And can Cameron now go for another move on Drake? That is way too far to even think about it. Sami Nakle was having a look on the inside, but realized it was just too big of a gap to even think of a move. But coming back to the Alpines, well, Nakle is just a hope for them today, and Marvin Moore as a full-time driver, throwing some valuable points into the constructors, because the gap for this, because the battle for the 2nd place in the constructors is just massive. We know the Red Bulls are probably going to win the constructors anyway, with a gap of around 150 points. However, for the 2nd place, the gap between Mercedes squad and 2nd and Alpines is around 70 points, but it's between 2nd and 9th for the reference. It's mainly Mercedes and Ferrari fighting for the 2nd, and then we've got AlphaTauri and Williams fighting for the 4th. But, you know, loads of things can change, especially considering Cameron Dowds having a chance to catch up with the rest of the field. Moraes and Crocs, by the way, having 56 points, but Moraes will definitely help McLaren catch up in the standings. Also, Crocs is coming 1 point at the moment, fighting there with Robertson. We're still watching the POV of Sami Nakle, who's closer to Cameron, but I wouldn't risk a move here into turn 22. The one that already has seen Mick Schumacher, for example, in 2021 crashing out, or Charles Leclerc on the practice. Now, Sami Nakle is having that DRS, he's using that DRS, he's got the medium tires. Can he go for a move on Cameron Dowds, who's also having the DRS into turn 27? He goes for it, and we'll see a change in the 2nd place. Not quite, but they are side by side, Cameron and Sami. The Season 7 runner-up is defending the position very well, also thinking on the move on Drake Dempsey yet again. He's not doing a typical DRS train, he looks for a move around the outside, turns 1 and 2. Has to still settle for the 2nd. That's a great bit of fighting between the 2 drivers who were fighting for the championship. 2 runner-ups of PlayStation F1 tier. Also involving Sami Nakle, who could see how close he is. If he was left alone in the cleaner, he would have probably gone away with these medium tires. You can see his pace through all of these corners. That's a great bit of fighting between the top 3. Curtin, Moraes and Richa and Marvin Moore are also in the fight, but they are probably more watching it rather than participating. It's between Cameron, Sami and Drake at the moment. How much is Cameron losing to Drake? It's around 0.6 of a second, so he's catching it up on the straights, especially with the RS. Losing on the corners. There's a bit of details that can differ if current esports driver or just a near future esports driver than the far future esports drivers, because remember, Cameron's one of the youngest winners of ERO races in PSF1 tier. He's about to fight Sami Nakle now, and I think this is the time where Sami Nakle actually takes the second base. He's now going around the outside to the turn 27, but Cameron defends it well. There's another safety car for whatever reason. And that is Fraser Robertson, who's calling it out. Nobody's from the top is going to Marvin Moore. No, not Marvin Moore. Diogo Moraes and Tony Rich are going to the pit. Medium tires till the end of the race. We could see an early usage of mediums at Imola and PSF1, for example, because, well, PCF1 is another story, considering the fact we've got full wet conditions for the entire race and the sprint as well, because we had to finish the race with a sprint. But Fraser Robertson, probably it was him because he was spun round, is calling out second safety car of the evening in Jeddah. This is a great opportunity for me to catch up in the chat, but this has been a great entertainment for the last couple of laps. Drake, Cameron and Sami. This freeweight fight is actually happening. It's looked like DRS train. Everyone is trying to make a move. And that might probably be remembered if it ends well. Moraes and Rich are going for an early stop. Probably having to deal with Killer, Crocs and Mills, because Moore and Kurt and Nakla are actually having pace. Killer, who's not won he's actually won the PCF3 race in Jeddah. Already scored points in Bahrain and Pinnacle of PC League Racing. Because this is what PCF1 is actually. Is having a chance for another point. Well, he's 6th of the hard runners. Bilbas is probably going to the pits. If I had... I'm just unable to do it quite yet on the F1 TV custom dashboard, but we can see everyone outside top 6 has already been into the pits. And Kiela with Mills have already pitted twice. Position changes. The one who gains the most is Crocs with 7 places up and Keller with 6 places up at the moment. So Poles are doing a great job. How about the tires? Keller and Mills have done this little trick, going to one of the tires and then instantly pitting for hards again, in order to stay out on them for longer, actually the entire race, because just made a mandatory pit stop. But, well, I'm thinking Drake and Cameron will go, and Gervin as well, and Wojciech Crocs will go to the pits around lap 15 and then go into the medium tires, trying to finish the race on them. Is there anything else we want to mention? Probably not. Apart the fact we're having 15 cars DRS train now because of the safety car. Fraser Robertson probably saved his race by spinning around and damaging the front wing. And I expect we can have a safety car in this lap. Also, you've told me that the pit timer could have been a little bit bigger, so there we go. I mean, you will not see that unless I switch to someone actually going to the pits. But it should work. Just a little bit bigger. Now I wonder if Diogo Moraes and Tony Rich are going to survive the entire race. We'll definitely watch them catching up the field. An early pit stop might be a great one, or risky, because you could see Patrick Rutte in other league, which I follow very much, and you already know the name, it's Shigauka. He's gone very early for the mediums in Miami. That was around lap 5 or 6, same as Kamil Stachura, and... well, this didn't end too well, because both of these two got a puncture on the penultimate lap, so I wonder how it will come out for Diogo and Richa for comparison. You can tell me how is the tire wear per lap in Jeddah on the medium tires. However, we should have a safety car in this lap. Isn't that right? We're having it. Drake Dempsey, yet again, leads the way after the safety car. Bernd Mailander, thank you for leading the race. But now it's time to shine for these drivers who are warming up their tires impatiently. Because Jake this time has decided to bring another tactic. You can see how far he is. Bernd Mailander is already going to the pits. But Drake is just passing this Aramco billboard. When will he start? Because he started early last time out. He's again starting very early, even before the last corner. And we're having a race again in Jeddah, in Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. This time looks like Cameron didn't get a great restart. He slept about a bit. He's fallen asleep a little bit, got napping. And this might cause Sami Nakla trying to take the second place in the race. They're warming up the tires. Very risky it was from Sami Nakla especially. Could have just lost the car and go into the wall. He's nearly going to the wall right now. Not using short shifting, which is very OP in this F122 environment. Sami Nakla keeps third place, and Cameron's already losing 0.7 of a second to Drake. And this time it looks like we'll not see as much fighting, because you can see he's already 0.7 down on the Alfa Romeo driver. Even Curtin is already having a chance to attack Sami, possibly. Could have gone on the hard tires, same as the second Alpine of Marvin Moore. But it doesn't quite look like they'll be keeping the tires for long. Or actually, they might be. But we'll see. Diogo Merch is already 7th. Right behind his teammate Wojciech Kroks. Will we see any fighting between these two? Or will Wojciech Kroks start to let pass? Yes, he is letting pass his teammate, who is not out of the championship contention quite yet. Drake Dempsey is already set up a purple sector, just 4 milliseconds up on his lap time. He's using a bit of ERS. Cameron is using that as well. How about Sami Nakla? The gap between the first and the second is already a full second. So I believe Cameron might be out of DRS this time. We can see Tony Richa making a move on Kroks as well, who's probably missed a bit of a braking point. But thankfully probably with no damage. Tony is now directly behind Diogo, but Wojciech Kroks is going to fight it. For the McLaren driver, he was about to crash into the Red Bull, but fortunately for all of them, it did not happen. Luke Mills is currently 9th in a couple of places. Bilbas is right on his back. Now Mills is also on the back of Wojciech Kroks, forming out the train number 2 as Diogo with Tony are trying to catch up to the train number 1. We've got 2 DRS trains and Keller with a 3-second time penalty. We could probably see that one in the background. Drake Dempsey is currently leading the way and lost a bit of time. He's now full second up. I don't know what's going on. So we'll see it ourselves. It's around a second of a gap indeed. For Drake, who's burning as much DRS as he can to stay out of the DRS. So maybe we'll go back to the midfield, where Bilbas is on course to make a move on Luke Mills for position number 9. He's backing out of it surprisingly. He could have gone for it, but he's decided to stay right behind the driver, back out of the move. Think of a better place to make it. The gap between Drake and Cameron is going to be around a second. So that is very important if Cameron can have DRS, because you can see it's around a full second indeed. Now can Luke Mills go for a move on Kroks instead? He's going down the inside on the McLaren, and he makes it stick, even though Wojciech is right behind him and side by side with Arjan Bilbas. There was controversies between these two and Imola. Now they are having a freeway fight into turn 1. Arjan Bilbas has to back out of it. Wojciech Kroks with a move for position number 8. Can now Arjan fight with Luke Mills for position number 9? He's on the medium tires. He wants to use them, but Mills with Kroks are side by side. Kroks is a little bit forced off track because of its nature. It was very hard to keep it on track anyways. Keller is watching the fight, maybe hoping for something to happen and also get into maybe even 8th place. But for now, it's Mills getting away from Kroks, and we should have Arjan Bilbas going for a move down the inside, trying to make a little bit of a revenge on Kroks for Imola incident, and he's made it stick for position number 9. After 2 DNFs, well, Arjan has a chance to bounce back, at least a couple of points finishes. He's still got a chance to finish in the top 4 of the championship. as Cameron is in the DRS of Drake indeed, but I don't think he's going to fight it, especially considering the fact that Drake has way more ERS, and Saminaka also has more ERS. He can use it to attack Cameron. He knows there's that red lab already flashing on Cameron's back of the car, which is an indicator of having little or actually no ERS. Now we're having into lap 13. It's the we're midway through the race. Marvin Moore is actually going to the pits. Diogo Marchi the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, but he's too far back to even think about having the DRS at least on Tony Ritchie. Sorry, Erwin Curtin. Tony Ritchie is just right behind him. However, we've got a couple of position changes as Philip Kiela has been overtaken by Owen. It's another crash from Kiela, so that was a trouble after losing a place, and then more trouble after spinning around in turns 2 and 3. So maybe we'll go back to the front of the field, and I can see some of the fans of one of the former Ero drivers in the chat. Well, hello Adam. We've got Killer racing today, if you're wondering about Polish drivers, but he's currently 14th, and Wojciech Krox is doing decent with 9th place at the moment. Killer is letting Marvin pass. Is Cameron actually in DRS of Drake? He is in DRS of Drake. Very close to him. Over 200 km per hour through turns 22 and 23, which is a recommended speed. But he could have braked a little bit earlier to have a little bit more rotation and actually have a better exit at the end. Nakla is still following Dowd. Dowd is still following Drake. Drake is having the plenty of ERS. Cameron's having the ERS, and he's using every single bit of ERS in order to defend from Sami Nakle, who's going around the outside of Drake, about to take the lead of the Grand Prix. Drake forces him a little bit off track. It's a side-by-side for the lead of the race, but Sami Nakle will have to back out of it. It's a battle for the second now between him and Cameron. He's now trying to make the space, force the space for the driver, but he has to settle for the third yet again. He's definitely interrupted Cameron, because Cameron is nearly a second behind Drake yet again. And this will mean he might be out of the DRS. Not quite yet, but that may be a major factor. Even Curtin is thinking of a move down the inside of Sami, but it didn't work out yet. Sami, I believe he's on this medium since... Yeah, he is on this medium since the start of the race. And he's still attacking. I wonder when he will go to the pits. Probably the same time as every single driver will go to the pits. Or maybe he'll even make the stint a little bit longer to go for soft. We'll see. Because now he's having the DRS on Cameron. It's probably not going to overtake him this corner. Please don't. As on the next DRS zone, he's got a chance. As Drake has already crashed out on the final run of qualifying in the turns 22 and 23. Now he's gone through it peacefully, leading the race. But Sami will go for the second place in this race. Not quite yet. He's decided to stay behind Cameron. He's got no ERS, come on. He can make a move around the outside or maybe down the inside. Drake Dempsey goes to the pits. Same place for Cameron, same place for Erwin. So 3 of the top 4 drivers are going to the pits. It's between Sami and Diogo and Tony at the moment. As top 3 drivers are in the pits, Drake Dempsey goes for the medium tires. Yes, it is medium tires because he was starting on hard. How about Cameron? We'll see that one, as he is probably on side by side with Leipich, who's going to fight Erwin Curtin as well, or will he let him pass, considering it not his own race, but Erwin, Cameron and Drake have all gone to the medium tires and are going to finish the race on those. Milan Derksen with his second time penalty. Drake has two Haas drivers ahead of him, sorry. Now he's about to make a move on them, but... Oh, there was something happening from the side of Robertson. Now we'll see if the Haas drivers are actually going to fight that one. Because Drake is going down inside of Fraser Robertson and Milan Derksen as well. This will be a 2-in-1 go for Drake for position number 7 and having a comfortable gap to Cameron, because the Haas drivers have decided to fight each other again. It's a 3-way fight between the Astons, between the Cameron and the Haases. Cameron goes past one of the Haases, will stay behind the second Haas. Remember about the early braking points they might have. Erwin Curtin is also trying to make a move. Cameron is now side by side with Fraser Robertson, And he's now going to complete the move. Cameron already has no ERS in his tank. Irvin has some. Cameron goes around the outside. We'll see. There's a little bit of a slide from Robertson, but Irvin Curtin makes the move stick. And we're back on it. As Nakle is indeed going to the pit, and he's going to be overtaken by Drake Dempsey inevitably. But how about Irvin? He's ahead of Irvin. He's standing overcut, sorry, on Irvin and Cameron. This opens up a chance for Drake to win, as Nakle also gets a 3-second time penalty, so this even brings more trouble for him if he wants to win the race. But also remember, Drake has Prox ahead of him and a couple more drivers ahead of him. So there might be some trouble for him as well. As Irvin will try to go for a move on the inside into the banking, turn 30, not quite. He's staying behind Hard Runner. It's also interesting to see how the fight between the top two is going, because Tony Riche and Diogo Moraes are going to stay out until the end of the race, unless there's a late safety car, and will go to the softs, because they've got quite comfortable gap ahead of Luke Mills. There is around over 10 seconds between these two and Luke. Now Tony Riche is going for the lead of the race. Doubt is fighting Curtin side by side into turn 24. There was a little bit of a contact between them. And now can Sami Nakle defend his current 7th place? Because Cameron's definitely going for a move. They are now side by side into turn 27. Sami is going to defend his place on the inside, but has to lose the place now inevitably, because it's Cameron ahead of Sami. Now it's going to be Irvin ahead of Sami. And now Irvin is going to make a move on Cameron as well. He's going side by side with him into turn 1. We'll go for his move around the outside. Make it stick at the moment. It's a three-way fight between these three. And it's still going on between these three drivers. Who's going to come out on top? It's going to be Irvin or Cameron. They're still wheel to wheel and to yet another corners. And this time it's Cameron ahead. As we've got Cameron on the 7th place. That was a bit of a fighting between these three. Well, wow. Diogo is still behind Tony, just about behind. Last week at Imola, we've seen Diogo winning ahead of Tony, who started on pole for the first time this season. Beautiful view, by the way. Presented by F1 TV, as Diogo Moraes is having DRS on Tony, but we'll come back to the battle for, at the moment, 7th place. But remember, Arjan Bilbas is on the mediums. He's going to the end of the race. Same probably applies from Luke Mills. Now it's going to be Irvin going for a move on the inside of Cameron and make it stick. Cameron is now fighting it back. And we'll see, because they are just losing time to Drake. Like, it's already lost for these three. But Sami Nakle will go wheel to wheel with Irvin and to turns 1 and 2. Now it's about to be Sami going for a move on Curtin as well. And Irvin loses 2 places in one go. for quite a long time showing up on the pit exit, has come out on the 5th place out of Knuckle, but there's no chance, I believe, that Knuckle will catch Tony, especially when he's on the hards and Tony is on the softs. Robertson is also coming out of the pits. Looking at the lower positions, it's pretty much a fight for position number 10. A little bit. Where's Crocs? Crocs is quite far away, so on the softs he's probably settling for position number 10, as Curtin thinks of a move on Cameron, but quite not so. Drake is already losing around 11 seconds to Diogo Moraes, so we might see a fight for the victory between these two. It might be also a fight for tires to survive for Diogo, where I'm not sure if he's going to win. Marvin was disconnected. Fortunately, he can join through me. As well, there is already sound. I mean, I was out for like 30 seconds. I had to. But Kevin Curtin will not go for a move on the meantime, because as far as I'm aware, it's all fine from my microphone side, as just telling you that, well, there's quite a lot of you watching this broadcast and a great fight for every single place on track. Consider liking the stream and subscribing to the channel, because there will be more of it coming soon. Even if we can consider it 50 minutes, because of the Pc F1 race, where there's a championship fight between Aurelien Lepenroux, Gillian Darunia, Josh Evans and Raya King, who's the championship leader, 28 points ahead of Aurelien at the moment. I believe it's between Aurelien and Reyes, though. We'll see in the future. But for now, Luke Mills is forming up a massive DRS train. Is he going to fight his senior team? Tony Ricci is going for a move on Luke Mills for position number 3. So now the zone of safety for Luke Mills, for at least that 4th place, is Arjan Bilbas. And 3-second time penalties most of the drivers have. And yes, Drake is racing 2nd place, 8 seconds of a gap. It's not the end of the race, as... Don't tell me. Have you seen that? Marvin! What are you doing? You nearly broken my game. He's nearly broken my game, for real. Have you seen that? Well, enough of memorizing that. We'll know for the future there's quite a bit of yellow flags. And that's for position number 14. As we can see, Leipich and Heinen. Actually, Leipich being disconnected and being lapped by Moraes. Oh, Heinen is also going to being lapped by Moraes as well. Drake is catching up. Around 8 seconds of a gap. Is this enough for Drake to catch up on last season's Pc F1 champion? Because we've got yellow flag again. And is that Cameron? It is! No! Cameron's fighting side by side with Irvin Curtin. It was Sami Nagle who's been spun around in turns 16 and 17. Cameron makes a move on Irvin. Now he's going to attack Arjan Bilbas. We'll see if he can complete the move. Arjan Bilbas is having DRS. Irvin Curtin is right behind Cameron as well. Cameron's having a little bit of a speed, but not quite enough to even think of a move. He has to think about it on the corners. Irvin will have to settle for position number 7 at the moment. We've got 3 more laps of racing. Or actually, yep, it is 4 more laps of racing here in Jeddah. Cameron tries to make a move on Arjan Bilbas as Irvin locks up quite heavily. Oh, there's a contact between Arjan and Cameron as well. Irvin has to back out of the move for now. But Arjan Bilbas might have minor wing damage. You can see how close to the wall these drivers are going for. As Crocs and Robertson have both overtaken Marvin Moore, who's just been keeping the disconnect and reconnecting to the session. So I believe that's the end of the session for Marvin, and very unfortunate DNF, or he's reversing back on track. Evan Curtin is making a move on Bilbas. Cameron spins round as well. There's so much going on in these final laps of this race. Cameron, having to be 8th at the moment, back to the fight with the Alpine of Nakla. So that is very interesting what is going on right now. And I'm quite confused as well. There's confusion everywhere. With 3 or even 2 laps to go in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. We'll see if Drake Dempsey can make it and overtake Diogo Moraes on the final lap of this race. The gap between these two is about 4, 5, near 6 seconds. Is this enough for Drake to catch up? I don't think so, to be honest. We remember Season 6 Austrian Grand Prix as where Guillaume Darunia has overtaken Drake on the final lap of the race, on the final corner of the race. Morita is in the session and also got a 3-second time penalty in the meantime. So I don't know what's going on, but Drake Dempsey at the moment is getting closer and closer to Moraes. Moraes is just behind the corner. But coming back to Austrian Grand Prix in Season 6, we can remember last corner, last lap, 2 different tire compounds, Adam Lepage spinning round. But this wasn't in Season 6. I mean, that was one of the most dramatic ends to the race, the most dramatic finishes of the race we could ever see. Robertson with a 3-second time penalty as well. How far is Drake from Diogo? That is the question. Because Curtin looks like comfortable on the 4th. It all depends on the time penalties because he has 3-second time penalty. And now it depends if he can go away from Luke Mills by around 1.5 seconds. Diogo is on 75% of tire wear, so this is actually praying. He's actually praying for them to survive. Thanks for the information, Maciek, as we are having a final lap of the Grand Prix. The question is Diogo going to survive on these tires? This was a gamble. Now he's going very, very carefully through all these corners. He's not going to give this one up. Because remember, even though he joined just on the round 7 of the season, he might be going for the championship, or at least guaranteed seat for Season 9, which is only guaranteed for top 4 drivers. As Bilbas is fighting Nakle, he's letting these two pass to let them do their own thing, but we'll go back to Drake, who's very close to Diogo Moraes. The grid has spread up quite a bit, except a couple of fightings, and these are between Mills, Dowds and Nakle. Drake is now about 2 seconds behind Diogo. I don't think that's enough. I don't think that's enough to take the win at Jeddah for the Alfa Romeo driver. Diogo Moraes is probably going to keep it. It's probably going to win for the 2nd time running. PC F1 with a great strategy choice to pit early for the mediums. This paid off. Diogo Moraes, who's come from PSF1 after 2 unfortunate endings to the race, he's gone to PCF1 and wins for the 2nd time in a row. This time, in Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, Drake Dempsey on the meantime got a 3-second time penalty. But it doesn't really matter, considering he's still 2nd. As we can see, Cameron Dowds is nearly side by side with Sami Nakle, but I don't think it's enough for him. Well, it is enough for him to ahead of Mills and Nakle. But this is mainly due to time penalties. Ryan Bilbas finishes 8th. Then we've got Fraser Robertson, who's going to step on the 9th place and get these 2 points. Also, I don't know why you're doing this kind of an ending and this kind of last corner, but he's probably celebrating these 2 points. Matthew Crocs with a single one. Just a little bit. The standings. And we can see. That was great. That makes us unable to see the results, you know? What just happened? This game will not stop surprising us. This game will not stop surprising us. As you could see, we are just left with whatever we had. We could see the top 9. One of the weirdest endings to the races. We could see that in Season 6, Mexico. I don't like talking about that for other reasons rather than The lobby is connecting. Also, look who's got a puncture. Maybe that's actually a time to switch to the conference screen because, well, one of the most surprising games. As Diego Moraes indeed got the win ahead of Tony. I don't know what happened there. We remember the places. It was Yogo, Drake, Tony, but, well, at the moment, we can see the result. We cannot see the results, but we remember the podium, so we just switch to the F1 conference. Diogo, Drake, Tony. As dramatic race, we're fighting all the way, all the grid, all the wide, or whatever you want to put on, because, well, Cameron, Drake, Sammy, and Diogo, and all of the rest of the drivers, both Red Bulls, have just given us the great entertainment here in Jeddah. We'll see if there is a press conference. We can also see the race results. The gap between Crocs and Robertson was around 6 seconds, so there's already clips more and more, but this one I'm definitely pinning. Yeah, but I believe that is it for today's session, unless someone is joining us. Nobody's joining us today for the conference, but this race was quite a bit to watch. So yeah, thank you for watching. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel as well, because there'll be more and more over entertainment. Jeddah delivered simply lovely with how this race was going. Oh, we've got our second place finisher, Drake. Hello, how was the comeback?
It was, I'd say, it was pretty fun. I mean, I was just lapping around it what I could. It was good battles here and there. Got a good pit window. Got a good car placement and just timing. Able to pull the good gap. But again, probably the third time this game that I've been screwed over by no punctures when tires were supposed to explode 3 laps earlier. So yeah, I don't no words about that. But GG, I guess.
Yep.
Just all about luck and probability. I want it to be next game already with a new game engine, but you gotta wait quite a while, unfortunately. This game's already in its April 2021 stage.
Yep, that was a quite of a bit of fighting, especially between you and Cameron after the safety car, the first safety car, which was quite something else I could see.
Yeah, I was trying to save battery a lot in the first half, and then I was trying to gap a bit, and I just didn't see it to be worth it in the end, so I just tried to conserve a little bit more and use when I had to. So just maximizing potential and whatnot. So yeah.
Yep. Also, we've got other driver joining us. The race winner, Tony, will not join us today, unfortunately, But we've got the man who survived on 80% tires, and they were like 18 laps old. Do I remember it quite right, Diogo?
Yeah. So tough. I was managing those tires a lot. Yeah, losing 2-3 seconds per lap just to trying to minimize the wear and the right tires. So yeah, it was hard at least.
Yep. Well, this race also brought us a lot of fighting. Are there any fights you could remember about? Because, for example, I remember the one between Drake, Cameron, Irvin, and Sammy. But how about you?
Yeah, they were at the front fighting a lot, and I was just waiting for them to deploy all their ERS and try to attack him later. But then the safety car came and I just thought, okay, I'm going to the pits. No one stopped. I'll have to manage these mediums until the end, because I knew that if I stayed on track and tried to battle with them, probably I would get 1 or 2 positions max, because they are all experienced drivers, and I don't know. It was I was looking in front, and they were all trying to overtake each other, but it was hard because of the DRS train and so on. So I tried on the strategy, and thankfully it paid off.
Yep. Also, well, I'll be checking the standings after the race once Luke Mills does them. But just for the technical reasons, have you got the race results photo? Because, for example, I've been disconnected midway through the finish line when there was like Robertson crossing the line on Ninth.
Yeah, I have. Let's see. I've got it on my Twitch.
Yep, this will
I
be
got I got
this will be useful after the race. But for now, Diogo Moraes, Drake Dempsey, Tony Richard. That is the top 3 for today. And I was Wojciech Śmigowski, the owner of the Ero and the PC F1 commentator and F1 in the future season, like season 9 with crossplay. So, thank you for watching, thank you for participating as well, and I hope to see you in the next races, or maybe even the championship fight when it comes to Diogo. I mean,
I don't think so. I don't think so.
you were losing 70 points last season, or something.
Yeah, I mean, but the championship is halfway through. I don't know. I just wanna race and score points when I can, podiums and so on, but mostly learn from these guys and get used to the PC handling, because it's a bit different from PlayStation. But yeah, it's from this championship this season is just to get the hands on, and then next season we'll see. But for now, it's just 1 race at a time, and try to get the most of it.
Yep. And, well, now, thank you for watching, and next week, another kind of holy smokes because we're having Baku. So, yeah, tune in for that one, Sunday 4 p.m. for PC F1 and 6 p.m. for PSF. And also don't forget the Friday and Saturday tiers on both platforms. Goodbye.